Hallelujah, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the miracle revival tent that is eXhuming the X-Files here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. We're here every Friday night, so be sure to hit that like and subscribe if you enjoy X-Files content. My name is Matthew. He is Jeremy.
Hey, everybody.
And tonight, we're going to lay our hands all over you and make you believe in the power of Miracle Man, the 18th episode of Season 1 of the X-Files. We're getting to the end, Jeremy. Season 1 is almost over. We're in the home stretch here, and we got a little religious episode here.
Yeah. This was it veered into an area I didn't think this show was ever going to go with pushing the science and the weird shit. But all in all, real excited about this one.
All right, well, let's kick it off. How does Miracle Man start?
It starts with the jaws of life being deployed in a car accident that was like downtown in a very, very small community.
Kenwood, Tennessee. Yeah, 1983. This actually takes place in the past, this opening sequence here.
So somebody got, like, this car wreck happened so violently at probably the 25 miles an hour that the speed limit was in that area that people caught on fire. Somebody died. There was like hundreds of gawkers standing in the street in the middle of the night when it was snowing. Very, very strange scene. But as they're wheeling this corpse away, this priest and this kid they lay their hands on this burnt corpse that they unzip
This is
out
hilarious.
of the body bag.
This is hilarious. Everyone just lets these people walk up, unzip that body bag, and some kids start touching this guy. Looks like a post toasty. The firefighter's like, "What are you doing? You can't do that."
But they gives him such a lame excuse. It's like, what? He's already dead, so this kid can't do anything worse, right?
What's the harm, sir? Let him fondle the dead corpse. It's cool. It's fine.
But then, after a little bit of fairly enthusiastic praying from a kid, the hand starts moving and holds this little kid's hand.
Yeah.
And then we get to the title screen.
This is a cool opening, I think. Setting aside the implausibility of the scenario here and what's actually going on, no cops around at all. It's like one firefighter just sternly looking at these people saying, "Please don't touch this dead man's hand." I like that, we kick right off with, well, geez, something real must be happening here, because how would this little kid bring this guy back to life? I like that opening.
Yeah, it was a good teaser to get into this episode. It didn't really beat you too hard with the religious stuff, which I absolutely hate in some television shows.
Yeah.
But we get on the other side of so they're discussing this case, and Scully is actually providing a presentation to Mulder about why they should go, and then about halfway through she's about to read the dossier, and he just starts recalling it from memory because he knows this reverend has been around with this kid, like, healing people for the last 10 years, and he's never
Samuel Hartley.
And I didn't understand why Scully wanted to go. Like, it seemed like a really weird reason, or there wasn't really any reason that they showed up to this at all.
Yeah, she was sort of like, I just remember at the very beginning of it, they were talking, I don't know if it was Mulder or Scully that brought this up, but they were talking about the local cop or the local sheriff in this town asked the FBI to help because that guy believed that the Samuel Hartley murdered this person that he sort of laid his hands on because the lady died, and they were trying to cure her of cancer, but she died right after the revival, and that local sheriff believes that the main healer guy, Samuel, is actually murdering people when he touches them.
Yeah. All right. I got you. And he wanted, because the cult or the church following or whatever, every time they try to investigate the bodies, these people show up in mass, and they're like, no, you can't desecrate a corpse and things like that. So he wants the weight of the FBI behind him so they can exhume bodies and start cutting apart, figuring out why they really died.
Yep.
Works with, limited success. There's this dude running around the whole time that looks like what was it, Raiders of the Lost Ark? You remember that Nazi that melted at the end?
Okay, that's amazing you said that. I'm going to read you exactly what I have on my notes here. Pasty faced weirdo looking like the Nazi who gets his face melted in Raiders of the Lost Ark. That
Like,
was my
not
note.
all the way melted, but
Yeah.
just starting to melt. And I thought he was, God, he was gross in
He
this
was really
episode.
nasty looking. And I actually wasn't putting two and two together when I was watching this that that was the burn victim from the opening. I just
Yeah.
wasn't thinking about it. I was like, why does that guy look like that?
Why is this fuck ugly guy following him around like Paul Bearer? But no, okay, so he uh he leads or they're going to exhume some of these former bodies. He leads a group of people out to and they're doing it in the middle of the night too, which was weird. Like they
Yeah.
bring the tractor trailer out there and they're just like digging up corpses at midnight.
It
But
adds
then,
atmosphere.
the congregation shows up and they're like, "No, this shouldn't be done." They let it happen anyway, I think, didn't they?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
And then they find out that these people were really dying from arsenic. Was it arsenic poisoning, or it narrowed it down
Or
to?
cyanide. Well, it was either arsenic or cyanide, something like that.
Yeah,
They were finding out that was the real cause of death. And the I guess the big hook here is this healer Samuel Hartley, who was the little kid in the opening. He's now an adult, and they have that sequence when Mulder goes and talks to him at the bar. And I don't know if this was before or after they were digging up the corpses, but he believes that like his gift is now a curse, like something has happened and he actually believes that. I don't know if it's like the devil has infected him or something and is killing these people. He actually does not want to do this faith healing stuff anymore, but his dad, who's like the main preacher of this, traveling carnival-esque group of of religious people, um is like keeps pushing him into it. So part of the hook of this whole episode is what is actually happening. Like, is the devil killing these people through this religious healer kid, or is it the sheriff who's doing it, or is it maybe the preacher dad who's doing it? So there's kind of like that's the mystery of what's actually happening, how these people are dying.
and a really interesting premise with the kid himself, like losing his faith and blaming himself. Like he's like, "I've been given this fantastic gift,"
Yeah,
and something that is never clear, and that's the only real part about that kid that bothered me, and is his backstory. Why? Other than,
yeah.
he was living an expensive life somewhat. He had like jewelry on that they commented on one time. What did this kid do to think that God turned his gift into something so awful? They never
Yeah,
talk about
yeah, they never say anything about that at all. We do get to see he was beaten up or something. Like his face is all busted up, so it looks like people maybe attacked him or something. But yeah, you're right. They never really explain why. Let me see who wrote this. Okay, Howard Gordon, Chris Carter. So Chris Carter was one of the writers on this.
it.
Maybe that's why it wasn't explained as well as it could have been. But yeah,
I thought it was just a really interesting angle for something. Like if the episode had gone differently and went real hard into this dude losing his faith and just stringing the audience along to thinking maybe the devil has something to do, and then the big reveal at the end was, what it was, but
yeah.
they didn't hit it quite hard enough.
I agree. But the thing that is kind of interesting about this episode to me is this healer, when Mulder first goes to speak with him, this healer kid seems to know about Mulder's sister, like his abduction. And that's what gets Mulder to be like super. A lot of these early, especially early season X Files episodes, Mulder just immediately believes.
Yeah.
Like he
And
just immediately believes.
he should have been like, okay, how the guy was talking to him. You've seen him on talk shows. They go in and like they're talking to an entire audience of people, and they're speaking in generalities because they're speaking to some ghost of some relative.
Yeah, like John
Like,
Edward or
I'm
something.
I yeah, I see the word, it begins with a B,
Yep.
Brian Baker, and that's exactly how this guy starts talking to Mulder. It's like, I see you have pain in your past, and then it was just like super vague, and then it started homing in depending on how
How he's
Mulder
reacting
was
to it.
reacting to it. Right? It was just, it was clearly supposed to be that way. It's just that Mulder's seen that sort of behavior before.
Yeah.
Why is he following or falling for it?
He should be skeptical of it at
Oh
first.
yeah,
But They Chris Carter didn't write it that way.
But then he starts seeing her around in places, and that was weird. I think this is the first time we've actually seen his sister in an episode.
Yeah, I felt like I wasn't exactly sure what they were trying to get at with this particular episode because the sister stuff isn't the main focus of this episode. It just pops up every now and then. But I didn't really get the sense from watching this that this was like if they wanted to make Mulder's sister the focus of this, I think they should have made it more attention just on like this is Mulder's story and how Mulder is trying to come to grips with his sister's stuff, like more sister focused. But it to me, it just kind of felt like, oh yeah, we're also just adding this other thing in here,
Right.
and there wasn't really an attachment to an overall arc to the sister. It just kind of came out of nowhere.
Right. And in the later seasons, if I recall correctly, his sister comes in, not infrequently. So this might have been the episode that sparked that interest, but yeah, they didn't really lean into that at all. I
Yeah.
was hoping when he was asking the healer if she was still alive, like he would at least fuck with him a little bit
Mm,
and give him the
yeah.
impression that he was alive, cuz I think they do that with government agents and aliens and shit that he's asking that question of in the future
Yeah.
episodes.
And Scully is super skeptical of this guy from the jump. Like she does not think any of this is real. And she does she has this great line I wrote down where she said God never lets the devil steal the show because she admits that she's religious, but she's like God never lets the devil steal the show. And we also get in this episode where Scully admits The Exorcist is one of her favorite movies. So I like that touch. That was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and she even her like that she's the believer of the two. They didn't really have her step up and either was for or completely against a lot of this stuff. They just nobody was against the religious angle or hating on it or
Yeah.
really overly promoting it,
They
which
do
made this level or this episode very tolerable.
Yeah, and they do that like weird thing where they're trying to almost like the biblical Moses sort of thing, like locusts attack a courtroom. And Mulder's immediately like, "Locusts, Scully? What could have caused all these locusts to suddenly show up in here?" And then Scully's like, "What is everyone? Is the firstborn child of everyone going to die next?" You know, that sort of thing. She's like, "We're out in the rural countryside. Of course there are locusts."
Oh my god, when they finally figure out how the locust got into the courtroom, like they're just he breaks into the courthouse to go wander around in the courtroom where the locust attack. Like he's got to find these answers. Is any of this stuff real? And there's like bugs all over the floor still because apparently the cleaners don't do a great job. But he looks up at that ceiling thing and sees the
Yep.
bugs coming out of it. And then they're just up on the roof and they're like walking around until he finds a hunk of potato, just a tiny little piece of discolored potato, and it was like what was it, the Reese's Pieces ET like
Yep.
following it around. There's just these pieces of potato going into the pipes inside of the courthouse. Yeah, all these bugs just
Showed up for some
okay,
potatoes.
right. So stupid. Some of the stuff in this, in order to just just drive the plot forward in some of these episodes, just you gotta suspend disbelief so hard.
Yeah. I feel like this is kind of like the part of season one where it was like maybe not necessarily that they were running out of ideas, but they were kind of like stretching ideas. Like, okay, we have to have a religious thing. Let's do this, and you know. I think I could see where people would look at long form television scripted stuff that was like 24 episodes long for per season, like these shows used to be in the past, and looking at stuff nowadays, which is like 6, 8, or 10 generally, saying an episode like this, you could cut this out completely and trim all the fat of some of these episodes and knock season one down to like 12 amazing episodes. And would that be better than sort of sprinkling in these episodes that are just kind of like okay. But I still but to me I still like it though. Like I still like experiencing these stories with Mulder and Scully, even when the episodes aren't like S tier and aren't awesome. I still just love spending time with the characters, and you get little moments here and there in throughout these. We'll talk about one in Darkness Falls in a couple weeks. There's a moment with the bugs getting on Scully that I think is really good. You miss all that if you chop down the episode count. So it's a double-edged sword. It's like sometimes these longer seasons, like, all right, I have to sit through some crap. But on the other hand, there's a lot of good stuff still in there that informs those characters going forward.
Oh, I completely agree. And then when it comes to this episode, I'm not necessarily just dogging on it because I hated it. I enjoyed watching all of it. It's just no, it's definitely not an S tier episode. So wow, where am I in my notes?
So we had
We
the
had
locusts, we had or the mystery. Like what is
yeah,
the main
okay.
mystery here?
So he kid gets out on bail because they're after him for these murders. He goes to a revival and accidentally kills a gal in the audience that had just shown up, and they made it kind of a point to elevate her in front of other people. And so Mulder and Scully convince the parents of this gal to let them do an autopsy, and that was the weirdest start to an autopsy scene. Is I don't know if you noticed, but Scully is like she's sharpening on a big long sharpening stick, a knife that's meant to carve a turkey. Like it's not a scalpel, it's like a 9-inch blade. And she just
Just get right in there.
like, okay, that was weird. And then she flips it or she turns it around, she has a scalpel in her hand. They find out, what was actually causing or what caused her death, narrowed it down, ends up finding out that the melted Nazi fella had been ordering this poison from some distributor in another state. They, but that's not before the sheriff has the healer kid beaten to death in his cell, which
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. Like I didn't see that much animosity
Well,
between
yeah.
the two of them.
That was interesting because one of the facts that I read about this episode was originally, and this is I believe from the Wikipedia, originally the script had called for more overt religious imagery, though censors at the Fox network objected to depictions of faith healer Samuel being beaten to death whilst in a cruciform pose, leading to scenes being cut out. So that was going to be a whole thing where he's you know the religious Christ imagery and stuff. I mean, he is a healer. I think it's pretty clear from the episode that his gift is kind of real. Like
Yeah.
he can do these things. It's just the Raiders of the Lost Ark Nazi. When we'll get to his reason as to why he started doing this, I feel like it's a little sketchy. But it would have been kind of cool. It's almost like we're big fans. You and I of Carnival. Anybody out there listening should go watch Carnival if you really want an interesting religious sort of show that kind of uses Christian Judeo-Christian imagery, but in a really unique and interesting way. And it would have been cool to kind of see him like killed in this sort of Christ pose in this jail cell, and I could just see like I don't know, crops dying all around, or so like very Ben Hawkins or something. But yeah, I kind of wish they didn't cut that stuff out. I think it would have made the episode a lot more powerful had they been able to leave that stuff in.
Sure. Although him getting his ass whooped while he's posing like Christ, I don't
Very passion.
know.
It would have made people mad. Honestly,
Right.
people would have been very
Back
very
then?
mad.
Oh
Oh
my
yeah,
god.
very mad. Too
So
edgy.
they find out that it's the melted Nazi guy. The kid gets beaten to death. Oh yeah, I wrote a really stupid thing here, but you should notice that, and you'll probably pick it up after this because I pick up on these stupid details. That every time there's a sheriff of a town, you never see him out of uniform. Daytime, nighttime,
Oh,
hanging at home with his wife, he's always dressed like that. And it's
you,
the same, like I started noticing it's the same thing with fucking doctors. Not psychologists. They can be dressed in civilian clothes, but no matter where a doctor is, if they're at home, they're just calling them on the phone to say, "Yeah, Mulder, I was looking at the thing." Like they're always wearing a white lab coat.
You never know when you're going to get a call. You got to be ready to go at all times.
Right? No, no. They just think their audience is dumb, and they just
Yeah.
need to be aware that this person is a scientist or this person is a sheriff. Like, all right, all right.
Everybody in the labs also have glasses on. They're always wearing glasses. That's a big thing because I noticed that because I'm someone that wears glasses. I've worn glasses my whole life, and one of the funny things that I noticed when I first started watching X Files is in a lot of the early episodes, Mulder would wear glasses, but those and even Scully will wear glasses. But those of you who do wear glasses can immediately spot when they're fake because the lenses are straight. They're not curved like someone who actually needs to wear glasses, and so they always look so ridiculous. These like flat lensed glasses, and the scientists are always wearing them.
Yep.
Always. There's no scientist without them.
Right. So yeah, we find out that okay, he gets beaten to death. His ghost shows up after they find out the melted Nazi guy was at fault for all of this. They confront or the ghost confronts him, and then Mulder and Scully just go to this melted Nazi's house for some reason in the middle of the night. Go inside. They find him in his bedroom. He's poisoned himself, and on his way out, he's like, I didn't want to live like he was mad that he got resurrected from the dead and had to live looking like that. And kind of to his point, I understand it a little bit, but man, did he let this shit go on for a long time
Yeah,
with
that
his
was
own
my problem.
Cadillac and probably wealth, and it's like, go ahead,
That
you're
that
right.
was my main problem with it because I was like, dude, if you were this pissed off, how old is this kid now? He this was happened in
That was
'83.
10 years ago because he
Yeah,
did that was his first one. He's been doing it since.
it's
So
like why are you just now getting around to killing this or trying to do this? Like, it just seemed weird. The reasoning behind it all, I didn't quite buy. Yeah, he looks gross. I mean, they put those close-ups on that guy's face. Does not look good in high definition. Let me tell you
no,
what. It looks pretty
uh,
nasty and gross. But yeah, he was super rich. And not saying that being rich will make you happy or anything. It would obviously be terrible to be burned like that. Um, but I didn't quite buy that he was just I'm mad that I have to live this way. He could have just killed himself at any
sure.
point in the past 10 years and just, let this kid keep healing people. So
And
yeah, I didn't buy the explanation.
right. And listen, if Freddy Krueger can make a life for himself, so can you.
Very true. Very true. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. I can't remember. Did anything really else happen at the very end of this?
Well, they go or the cops go to arrest the sheriff because
Oh yeah.
they're aware that he called for these dudes to come beat this or a kid to death in prison
Yep.
or in jail or whatever.
Yeah.
What I find wild is the very end of the episode. They just show that they're throwing the people, the congregation or whatever, are tearing down the revival tent, and they're throwing all these this kid's picture away. Like, this is not that big of a community. It's big news that the fucking sheriff just got arrested for killing this kid. They're not just gonna throw him in the dumpster. They're still gonna be in the tent, like
Yeah.
feeling bad with the dad and stuff. Like, he could ride that for a couple of months at least.
Yeah. Yeah. You would think. So your overall thoughts on this? I actually didn't find many details about this episode other than the cut scenes from Samuel being beaten to death in there. I do think what I liked about it is I did like that they touched on Mulder's just easy gullibility when it comes to anybody talking about his sister. That'll be a
Yeah.
recurring theme throughout the show. He just immediately believes anybody, whether it's if it's about his sister or it's about aliens. He immediately believes it, sight unseen, whatever it is. So I like that. I like the general concept of this. I like that it kind of went in a direction that we weren't really expecting. Like you, I wasn't expecting Samuel to be beaten to death in the jail cell.
Right.
That was kind of out of nowhere. And so, but a lot of this also was just kind of. I didn't sort of buy the relationships between all of these people well enough. They needed to focus on one thing, and they were focusing on too many different things.
Hmm.
Overall, I think it was just kind of like an episode. It's not bad. It's not great. It was just kind of like mid.
Yeah. And I'm pretty much with you. I don't have a lot of great things to say about the episodes. I've just had a lifetime of, my pop culture and television shows. They'd always have your religious episodes, oftentimes, around Easter, around Thanksgiving, around Christmas, bring the family together. And it always kind of annoyed me to just kind of have religion thrust at you. Just that constant reminder that you live in a Christian country and stuff like that. Not that I mind religion, I just hate being beaten with it. And this episode involved it, but there does I it never got preachy. The Jesus
Yeah.
angle and Christianity, that wasn't the important part of the episode. So while it had its elements, it wasn't beating you about the head and neck with Jesus. So I love that part of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
certainly wasn't the focus.
I think what makes me disappointed is they had something here. They had a good enough amount of ideas within this episode that it could have been S tier if
Oh
they
yeah,
had focused a little bit more and explored some of these errors or what was good about the episode. Just expand upon that a little bit, but they didn't. So we
yeah.
got what we got.
If they would have had, if this could have been like a two-part episode or something of that nature, where like first episode is, the audience, build it up like, wow, is this a real legitimate thing? And
Sure.
then sort of the second episode, the rug is kind of pulled out from everybody. That would have been kind of cool, but too ambitious of an episode and not enough focus to match that ambition, I think, is the biggest problem with this one. But it's all right. It's all right. It's not bad. It's worth a watch. Definitely
Yeah.
worth a watch.
You watch it once.
Yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our episode on Miracle Man. We will be back next week, and we are going to talk episode 19, Shapes. We're going to start getting into werewolf territory. Werewolves next week. So hit that like and subscribe, and we will see you next Friday here on Outpost Unknown.